This program is brought to you by the partners of A Rood Awakening International. Help others find truth. Support A Rood Awakening International today.
Even if you are watching this program tonight for the first time, you have likely seen Michael Rood's classic teaching, The Red Sea Crossing. Well, tonight is the sequel, as it were, the sequel that includes video footage of things that prove the Israelites' journey that very few people have ever seen. Sinai, New Discoveries with Kevin Fisher continues tonight because it's the end of the sixth day, the sun is set, and this is Shabbat Night Live. Well, Shabbat Shalom, Torah fans. Welcome to Shabbat Night Live with Michael Rood. Hey, it's part 2 of Sinai, New Discoveries with Kevin Fisher. And in a sense, the sequel to Michael Rood's classic teaching, The Red Sea Crossing. There are photos and videos that you are about to see that very few people in the world have ever seen. We're going to take you from the beach in Egypt where God literally melted the sand with the fire from heaven that separated the Egyptians from the Israelites all night long. And then they crossed the sea, and we're going to go down into the sea and then into the wilderness of Sinai. And on the other side, this episode is a keeper for sure. And you can pre-order it right now, as a matter of fact, on DVD or Blu-ray with the information that you're seeing right now on the bottom of your screen. And tonight is also very special because it marks the end of the Feast of Sukkot and when Yeshua proclaimed the latter rain. What's that all about? Let's talk about that with my co-host, the Chief Operating Officer of Rood Awakening International, Ted Clayton.
Hi, Scott.
How are you?
Thank you for letting me be here with you today.
Certainly, yes.
Can do this.
Elbow rub. And so some people think this is the 8th day of Sukkot, and some people consider it the 8th day of Sukkot. It's the high day, and last 8 days ago, we had another high day.
Right.
When we did Shabbat Night Live.
Correct.
But this is actually a day all to its own. Shmini Atzeret is what it's called. And it's apart from Sukkot. And this is one of those times where when we line up Yeshua's ministry, it helps to understand that he was really the Messiah because he did something really bizarre in the Bible that some people go, well, I don't know what that is, why he did that, and they sort of turn the page and just don't get it.
Sure.
And this is that time where he stood up and said, if any man thirst, come to me, and I will give him
living water.
And people think, why would he just stand up in the middle of a crowd and do that? Because it was on this day. And I want to read you something from the chronological Gospels that explains all of this. This is event number 130, as Michael calls them in the chronological Gospels Bible.
Yes.
And this is on page, because all the pages are the same, no matter what chronological Gospels you have, it's all page 139, right at the bottom. And it says, in the last great day of the feast, Yeshua stood up and cried out, if any man thirst, let him come to me and drink. He that believes on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. Now, why did he say that? It's because it was this day. And what was happening on this day? See, if you don't know Hebrew feasts and festivals and traditions,
which are very important.
And even if they're not biblical, even if the Pharisees made it all up, God still used it to explain something, to get the people's attention of the day. And here's what he used it for. This incident is prophetically tied, says Michael, in the chronological Gospels, tied to the water libation ceremony. So there's a special thing going on at the Temple Mount that concluded on the last great day, which is the 8th day of the high Sabbath, which we just talked about at the end of the Feast of Sukkot, that transpires after the 7th day of the Feast of Sukkot. Yeshua was prophetically proclaiming the future reality of the latter rain, or the double portion outpouring of the Holy Spirit that will transpire during the future fulfillment of the fall feast of the Lord. So there we go. That is why he did it, and those who are paying attention to their faith at that time and go, wait a minute, this is ringing a bell. What is this about? And they would recognize him as such as the Messiah.
And it was so important of a time for it to be called the great day, the last great day.
Yes.
So that means it had to be very, very important.
Right. And for him to have the gall to stand up in the middle of that very important, very holy and solemn assembly, I can imagine.
Yes.
To just do that, and no wonder everybody was awestruck and their jaws hit the floor going, what are you doing?
Right. Exactly.
And meanwhile, he's yelling apparently at the top of his lungs this thing. And some people said, well, here's the reaction of people. Some said, this is the prophet of whom Moses spoke,
Okay.
the Messiah. Others
Indeed.
said, this is the Messiah. But some said, shall Messiah come out of Galilee? And then some other people had doubts, and who is this guy? And of course, the people were divided, and that's why not everybody followed him, of course.
Of course.
But now, we wanted to get into something about a new love gift we have.
Yes.
And we have a new love gift from Bill Cloud.
Yes.
And why do we have a love gift from Bill Cloud, people might be asking?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you probably heard last week, I announced that Michael has had another stroke. And but I just want to let you know, I visited with him, and he is doing great. He's recovering every single day. He's getting stronger. He's starting to see those videos and emails that you sent to bestwishes@michaelrood.tv. And we still want to encourage everybody, continue to send those videos. They're so encouraging to him to be able to see the people that he really loves, wishing him well and wishing him a speedy recovery. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just ask that if you can't do a video, that you jot down an email just encouraging Michael's continued recovery. You know, it's kind of hard to do some of this, you know, occupational type therapy and physical therapy to get back on the road again. So we really want to encourage Michael's recovery with you, because he loves you and he cares for you so very deeply. And it's just great for him to see these videos and see these emails. So keep sending them to bestwishes@michaelrood.tv.
Right, now listen, Michael's a Marine, and he'll recover quick, but these are going to help him even more.
Yeah, he's a Marine, and he's well aware of PT. More PT instructor, more PT.
Indeed. Now, Bill's teaching is called, now you did a little intro at the beginning of Bill's teaching. The people who ever get the teaching will see that.
Yes, and it was really incredible. Michael had seen a video, a video of Bill Cloud's newsletter, and had seen some of this news, and was just really enthralled by it. And he invited Bill. Now, this was before the stroke. He had invited Bill to come in and teach on this article that he had wrote in his newsletter. And so that's what this month's love gift is all about.
Right, so that is called The End Is Not Yet.
The End Is Not Yet.
Right.
And it is so very important for these days. Ladies and gentlemen, it's so important that you see this teaching. This teaching is a very, very, very important teaching, because it expounds on several different things. And I'm not going to give anything away, but one of the things is our need to do the right thing as Americans.
Right.
And so,
especially as believers in America.
Yeah, believers in America. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to want to get that love gift. It's for a donation of $50 or more this month. You'll receive that love gift. But wait, there's more. I love doing that, because there's some beautiful things that are added to the love gift this month as well.
That's right.
For an extra donation, I believe.
Right.
And Scott,
we have a $150 level, and then just for time's sake, because we're running out here, the $300 level. Let's bring it all in. Let's just bring it.
So look at this.
This is beautiful.
Going to Jerusalem, and this is a beautiful art form of that very. We're talking about going up to the feasts.
Yeah.
This depicts it.
That's
right here,
exactly
and
what
it's
it is,
wonderful.
yes.
But there's another thing we have to show real quick, because I know we're running out of time.
Oh, but well, first of all, yes, the mug with the name of Yehovah on it. Everybody loves these things.
These are great,
one of
and
those.
it's real solid too, ladies and gentlemen. That's not going to.
And a rubber bottom. You can put your hand on the bottom and not get burned. So
there you go.
Great. Now this thing.
This is it.
Okay.
This is it, ladies and gentlemen.
This is taken from Michael's, what he called the New Apostles' Creed.
Yes.
Not every part of the creed is on here, but we took the most fervent pieces of it and put it on here. This is basically a statement of your faith.
Yes.
Michael's New Apostles' Creed was the statement of his faith, because he looked at the Apostles' Creed in general that has always been around, and he said, that's not good enough. I need something more detailed. This is the essence of it.
Now, this is a blanket. Now, think about this, being wrapped and kept warm with the Apostles' Creed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something that you are not going to want to pass up. This is fabulous. You can read all the stuff here, and it's only given as a love gift, as a thank you, to say we love you and we thank you for giving at the $300 level.
Indeed, and these things have been flying out the door for more than a week, so make sure you get yours, because they are limited. As you know, places all over the world that are manufacturing things like this blanket, things are on a slow boat right now.
Because of COVID, because of COVID-19.
Right, so when we run out, so make sure you get yours while supplies last.
Indeed. Thank you for letting me be here today, Scott.
Thanks, Ted. All right, well, tonight is the sequel to Michael Rood's Red Red Sea crossing that includes video footage of things that prove the Israelites' journey. Very few people who have ever seen this in the world, and you're going to be one of them next. Stay tuned.
It's no secret that 2020 has become the most unpredictable and the most disturbing year in recent memory. But the question is, what is our role as believers? Michael Rood welcomes Bill Cloud for The End Is Not Yet, a special edition love gift teaching about what is going on in our world and what you can do about it.
In a very short time, we are going to have to be making certain decisions that are going to affect the outcome not only of this nation, but of this world. And so as the servants of the Almighty, it is very important that we seek His will.
The End Is Not Yet is an exclusive teaching you won't see anywhere. The only way to get it is to receive it as our gift, to thank you for your support. Donate a $50 love gift, and we'll send you The End Is Not Yet on DVD or Blu-ray. Or for a donation of $100, we'll send you the teaching, plus a tall latte coffee mug inscribed with the Hebrew name of Yehovah, and Michael Rood's new Apostles' Creed, printed on a cozy 5-foot microfleece blanket. Or as a special offer for a donation of $300, we'll send you The End Is Not Yet, the latte coffee mug with the Hebrew name of God, the new Apostles' Creed blanket, plus a canvas print depicting ancient worshipers going up to Jerusalem for the fall feasts. These gifts are available only in October, and supplies are limited. Make your donation now and receive the $50 gift, the $100 gift, or the $300 gift. Remember, this offer ends October 31st, and supplies are limited. Thank you for your donation to A Rood Awakening International. Call now to receive your gifts, 888-766-3610, or get your gifts online at monthlylovegift.com.
Several years ago, I was in the land of Israel and having Sabbath dinner with a group of Messianic Jews. They brought out the negelvesser, the two-handled pot, and they said this prayer in Hebrew: "Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctified us by your commandments, commanding us concerning the washing of hands." I stopped. I said, this is exactly what Yeshua did not do. He said, this is takanot. This is a commandment that is added by the Pharisees, and Yeshua said, do not follow the takanot and ma'asim of the Pharisees. Don't do what they do. Say you're doing it for me. Yeshua said, as often as you do this, this is what you do. You take the bread, and especially on Shabbat, we do this in remembrance of him. Baruch atah Yehovah Eloheinu melech ha'olam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. This is how Yeshua blessed the Most High, with the very blessing that Melchizedek spoke to Abraham. And Abraham saw Yeshua's day and he rejoiced because he recognized the broken body. And Yeshua said, this is my body, which is broken for you. As often as you do this in remembrance of me. And then Yeshua took the cup. And he said, Baruch atah Yehovah, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Borei pri hagafen. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. And Yeshua said, this represents the renewed covenant in my blood. As often as you break this bread and you drink this cup and you say this prayer, you recognize that it is all about me. It is all about me, and that you'll be drinking this cup with me in my Father's kingdom. L'chaim. Shabbat shalom.
Find 5 Westerners tonight who were kidnapped earlier today by Kurdish rebels.
Amateur archaeologist believes he's found the ruins of Noah's
I would
Ark.
stake my life on the fact that I know where the Ark of the Covenant is.
Some say there can be no evidence of the Red Sea crossing. Even if the waters did part, they came back together. How are you going to prove it? Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have of the story. There were things that happened before and after. And Kevin Fisher, we had started talking about what the evidence was before they crossed the Red Sea. And we didn't even get finished on our notes here of, of where we wanted to go. Yes. And we are at a crucial point now, still on the Egyptian side of things.
That's right.
Where we have evidence today that God protected his people. What is that evidence?
At this site, you can see where it looks like the pillar of fire stood at the beach here and actually melted the sand and the rocks together. We'll see video of this. It's really amazing. It's another sign, that we're at the right location.
So this is not some rock that was just there. This is something that is melted.
It's the native material there that's been melted together. And we'll see evidence of it here. It's really amazing. And the hotel owner there that was down there with us at the beach, he says, I've not seen this anywhere else, right there at Nueva. So it's pretty amazing.
And before the cameras come on, we were talking about how there is this phenomenon of a lightning hitting sand. And the name for the phenomenon that happens escapes me, but there is, it creates artwork. It's a cylindrical shape that the lightning makes when it hits the sand, and it is melted sand. It's melted rock.
Yeah.
And it basically is exactly what we're about to see here.
Yes.
So
it's quite amazing.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we're down at the beach now, and here you can see the hardened material where the sand and the rock has been fused together. This is all hard right here. It extends approximately 1/8 of a mile to 1/4 of a mile in length. And I assume that's the width of the opening that they had.
And that is, that's enough to keep the Egyptians back. And it's certainly more than one little lightning strike and a little bit of melted sand.
It's something constant, standing there in their way. They did stand between them to keep them separated. A pillar of fire, pillar of cloud, different times. Mm-hmm. This is another visit that we were there. The water is more calm. Mm-hmm. But once again, we're going to see the melted beach here. We'll go down to the edge of the waters.
And that would make sense because God protected his people, as we remember in the text, it says all night. He separated them from
during
the
Egyptians.
Egyptians.
Yes. And right in the foreground here, you can notice that this looks smooth. This has been melted together.
And there's nothing else that would create that. There's no other explanation.
That's right. And this is a very smooth material, and it's the native material. It's not something that's been poured here. And this is a long distance where this is hardened. Again, we see Saudi Arabia in the distance. That's ancient Midian. Midian is where Mount Sinai is located, according to the Bible. And so we're taking a look straight down at this hardened material. You see this large stone stuck in it.
Yeah, it's just melted right in.
It's melted in, yes it is.
Goodness.
It looks smooth in areas. Here it's not as smooth, but you can see how hard it is. And we're going to take a sample of it.
And you would think that the tides would loosen that, if anything. It wouldn't fuse them together.
It shows the rigidity of the material. Here John's breaking off a piece of it. But you can see it's smooth on top there.
And all the rocks fused together.
It's the native rocks all together.
Like sometimes we would go and we'd be gone 3 weeks over there. And so we would, first we did the airplane, and then we got, like Dad had an old 8mm camera. The very first time we went scuba diving in there, and we had metal detectors, electronic ones with batteries in them, and Dad just put the camera in a plastic bag and took it under the water to try to take pictures. Didn't work, drowned the camera, ruined everything, ruined the metal detectors. It wasn't, we were total amateurs at everything except for believing. We're good at that, and that was it. That's about it. But
I love what he says, though, that we were amateurs at everything, but we believed.
Well, it's nice that he'll, admit that. Some people don't want to admit that they're amateurs, but they knew God was on their side. God was leading, and so they went forward, and with their own amateur investigation led by God. I mean, it changes things when you've got the Almighty on your side. But
I love the fact that he put a camera in a plastic bag. He just expected it to work.
At least they tried, right?
Yeah, that's great.
But, yeah. So some of the things they found there at the site, we can see here, this is a human femur bone.
But I did dive on the Nueva side several times, probably about 500 dives by now. The first time I dived was in the end of 1996. Ron Wyatt took me there with Leonard Muller, actually. That was the first time I dived and the first time I met Leonard. And they very kindly invited me on that dive. That was December 1996, and the last dive I did was February 2011. So I believe I've seen chariot pots in the bottom of the Red Sea there. We also dived for Tim Mahoney, for Mahoney Media, to try and get some footage for the Exodus conspiracy, and I dived with Ross Patterson several times, and Andrew Ross, both from Australia, New Zealand. So there's been a lot of diving on the Nueva side, on the Egyptian side, and we've taken pictures of chariot wheels, and I remember diving with Dr. Nerida Titchener. I think that was the 1996 dive, actually. And I was her buddy at the time, and she picked up, it looked like a bone. She's a medical doctor, so maybe that helps to identify body parts and bones and that sort of thing. So she picked that up, and Leonard Muller took that bone to the Department of Osteology at his university in Sweden, and they did identify it. They did identify it as a male right side femur. I think, and they tried to date it as best they could and gave the dimensions of the man that it would have belonged to and so forth. So there's human remains there.
So this is Aaron Sen, obviously an accomplished diver and dove for many
500
people.
dives, I mean, that's amazing. That shows you how important this site is and how people are trying, to prove that it really is correct. He lives in the UK, and he did this interview for us. That was nice of him. But he's seen numerous chariot wheel parts there, and then the human remains. So it's consistent, with the Bible.
And have they brought up many pieces? It sounds like they tried to leave most of it there. He doesn't talk about bringing many things up.
Yeah, technically you're not supposed to disturb what's down in the water. You're not supposed to disturb the coral, and you're not supposed to bring anything up. So even if you have a boat out there, which we'll see a little bit later, you cannot put an anchor down because they're afraid it'll damage the coral. And so technically, pieces of these are not supposed to be brought out of the water. But it's all amazing, it fits the biblical account. You see 4-spoke chariot wheels, 6-spoke, and 8-spoke. It's only during the 18th dynasty, the time of the Exodus, that the 8-spoke chariot wheel was used. And so by finding that chariot wheel here that we'll see, it is proving that this is from the correct time period of the Exodus.
Amazing. All right.
Yes.
And this is a horse hoof.
This is a picture I took of a horse hoof. It's shriveled up since it's come out of the water. But that's consistent, again, with the biblical record. Today, the horses are not native to the area. Here appears to be an 8-spoke chariot wheel with a raised center hub. Now, all these chariot remains have a raised center hub. That's one thing you can look for. And they have used metal detectors on them. This is another one here with just the spokes sticking out. Again, the raised center hub.
It was around about the same dive, I think 1996, that Eric Lemke from America was diving with a young man called Rory. And they'd been diving quite deep for a while. They were about 28 meters as well. And they found what they described as a bronze wheel. Now, because they'd been diving a while, they were getting low on air when they found the wheel, and 28 meters is too deep to start getting low on air and getting into any emergency situation. But anyway, you know, you're diving for days and days and you finally find a wheel. They said it didn't have much coral on it at all. You could just see it sitting there. So I think Rory tried to grab hold of it and tugged it a bit, because this is kind of cemented in behind the coral. All the coral grows around it. And it wouldn't tug, but as he was tugging, he was of course breathing heavier and using up more and more of his air. And I guess they were so excited they weren't keeping an eye on their air. And so eventually he ran out of air at 28 meters. And, you know, the story goes that he looked at Eric, his buddy, and with panic in his eyes, and he grabbed the regulator, put it in his mouth. So Eric had to grab his spare regulator and breathe off that. And then they ascended to the surface safely. But there's an eyewitness account of a bronze wheel down there. I think they said it was an 8-spoked bronze wheel, but they didn't manage to get photographs of it.
There again, naysayers are going to say, oh, well, you didn't get a photograph. But still, there are eyewitness accounts, several, not just Aaron's, of what's down there.
Yeah, he was part of a team of 4 divers. Ron Wyatt was one of the others. Ron had the camera. They had gotten separated, and I think Ron was heading to shore. But Eric was the light man. He had the light with him. He was supposed to help, film Ron as he's filming things, helping point the light to objects. But yeah, so it's Eric and this other gentleman there. They both saw the bronze chariot wheel, and Aaron's thinking it's an 8-spoke wheel, which once again would help prove the timing that we're at the right time period for the 18th dynasty.
According to the rest of what is happening in the Gulf of Aqaba there, that this is the underwater land bridge where it's still, like he says, relatively deep, 28 meters, it's about 90 feet.
It is still deep there at the site. Now, technically, it's 2,800 feet deep. But when you're looking at 13 miles across, you're ending up with a 4 or 5% grade, which is very doable going down and coming back up. Now, to the north and to the south of this area, it is deeper. It's like 5,000 feet deep in one of the directions. But anyway, it is more shallow, but it's doable. It's doable across there. And so, God opened the way. It's quite amazing.
Why don't we continue here? I know we have just a few more minutes in the Red Sea crossing area of this film you have.
And so here we see a human rib cage, top left, and possibly part of an arm just to the right of that.
Oh, yeah, you can see that.
Yeah, photo Ron took. And here is a chariot wheel. Perhaps it's on an axle. It's standing up. There's a raised center hub in the center there. And you got the spokes coming out.
There's another wheel which we also found on that 96 dive with Ron. And I believe it's a 4-spoked wheel. And I think one of the spokes is missing, so you just see the 3 spokes. But you've got perfect right angles there. And then where the wooden rim of the wheel would be has eroded away. But where you've got the hub, that would be made of metal, so that's what remains. And that's in quite shallow water. So when you dive with underwater metal detector, you can go over all the corals and you don't get any reading. And then when you go over obviously metal or iron or whatever, you do get a reading. So that's the way you know that if you've got a wheel shape and you get a strong metal reading from it, then that would be the difference between just a round coral and something that could potentially be a chariot wheel.
And so here's Aaron over one of the chariot wheel remains. Again, you see the raised center hub area and then the spokes coming out from that. But Danny and Rodney are going to talk about finding this gold-plated chariot wheel at 180 feet deep. It's quite amazing.
When we actually did go scuba diving, Dad bought 2 little underwater Kodak cameras, and that's what the underwater pictures were taken with. I took a picture of 3 different wheels. The golden chariot wheel picture got drowned in one of the cameras. And the other camera had a bunch of chariot wheels, but not the gold one.
Me and Ronnie went down and touched
we touched the gold chariot wheel.
Yeah. How deep was that?
Somewhere around 180 feet.
Yeah, it was
right around there.
Like Ronnie said earlier, we were swimming about 35 feet where you can stay all day, whatever, 32 feet. So we were up there swimming around, and if we saw anything, we'd go down. And they were covered. There was a lot of coral on them and stuff, but
There was an upside down chariot box that we took pictures of, and the coral was all grown over it, but you could tell the shape of it perfectly. And you could see even like some of the pictures now that they got over from the Saudi Arabian side, the wheel standing up on their axle, there's stuff like that there, and the round coral thing on, you know, it's just obvious that that's where it was. Of course, these were scattered parts and pieces on the Israeli side or Egyptian side. And when we first went, it was Israel, and then they had to give the land back to Egypt, so kind of switched hands there. But there were very few parts on the Egyptian side, and my dad figured that due to the Bible story, that when God drowned them, that the water came from behind them, the Egyptian army, and shoved them towards the Saudi Arabian side. And therefore the people of children of Israel got to pick them clean of their gold weapons.
They got their swords.
Because shortly after that, they had a fight with the Amalekites or something like that, and it says they smote them with a sword.
Yeah,
and they had no swords. So it makes sense that
and it says they saw their body.
So from what I understand, they found a total of 3 of these gold-plated chariot wheels. This is one of them here. And it appears it was covered with sand, and they gradually brushed the sand off of it. They probably saw the shape of it through the sand. And coral does not grow on gold. And so that's why you will not see coral attached to this one. That could be a loose piece of coral laying there, but quite amazing.
So potentially that one, if someone allowed, one day could be brought up and tested, and that would be definitive evidence.
Right, yes. And we're told there were 600 choice chariots that were caught up in the waters there. Now, in 2009, I put together a Rove machine, remote operational vehicle with a camera on it, and we rented this boat here to go out to the crossing area. We're headed to the south end of the beach, and we're going to take a look at what's under the water there. You see Saudi Arabia in the distance. It's a pretty day here. And so we're in the approximate area, and we're going to put out the underwater camera. And we're getting it ready to launch. We used just about 3 hours, and we did get an image of something that's possibly a chariot wheel. This has got 3 motors on it. You can turn it left, right, up, and down.
So very much like an aerial drone, just underwater.
Yes, it's got a cable attached, a 100-foot tether. I brought it in through Cairo and one of my pieces of luggage. And
right, sure. Are you ready? Yeah.
So we're launching it here. And then this is an onboard replay. And the water here is clear. This is going to clear up here in a second. But again, you cannot put an anchor out. And so the boat is constantly drifting. It's usually to the south. And so you have to go with the flow. And some of these could be parts from the Egyptian army.
I saw one piece there that almost looked like it could have been a hub in the first part of the film.
Yeah, you don't know what is what, but
wow, look at that.
Yes.
And this is, for coral just to appear out of nowhere, it needs to grow on something. It can't just grow on the
you're
sand.
right, it has to attach to something. And so some of this could be from Pharaoh's army. Now, if we could keep it going here, we'll see the chariot wheel come up in a few seconds here. This is a large clump. It could be part of a chariot cab. But our next image here is going to be, I believe, the chariot wheel that we think. I'm controlling here up top. This is about 3 hours of controlling it. We're getting some video coming into the camera here digitally. We're recording it. And then here we're going to come upon the wheel. So there it is in the bottom left. It's round. It has a raised center hub. and it's perhaps still on the axle, and it's at like a 70-degree angle. And so to me, it's a possibility that that was a chariot wheel.
Amazing.
Yes.
All right. Well, Kevin, thank you for showing us this. And
Thank you.
I know that you do this at your own expense with arcdiscovery.com, where people can donate so you can do more of this discovery and show us.
Sure.
And so, guys, if you appreciate what Kevin is doing here, we encourage you to go to arcdiscovery.com and support what he is doing. And we thank you for support what we're doing. I mean, there is no large conglomerate supporting Shabbat Night Live. Our greatest supporter is you. Our only supporter is you. So we want to thank you for supporting Shabbat Night Live, allowing us to bring Kevin on the show, and also for supporting his ministry. So in order to support Shabbat Night Live, we're going to give you a couple minutes to do that, and we'll be back with more. Thank you for supporting Shabbat Night Live and for supporting Kevin Fisher. Kevin, we've been through Egypt and over through or across the Red Sea or the Reed Sea, and now we're about to look back from the Saudi Arabian side.
That's right. We're going to first take a view from Nuweiba. This is an aerial view, you could say, using Google Earth. And we can see in the distance here, we can see the Jebel El Lawz over in Saudi Arabia. That's where we're going to be heading to. At first, we're going to take a look at the beach on the Saudi Arabian side, and we'll be crossing over to that location.
Mount Sinai in Arabia.
So Mount Sinai should be in Arabia. This is Arabia over here on the right side. The Sinai Peninsula is not Arabia.
Now when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to slay Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh, and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well.
So Moses fled from Egypt to Midian. This is the land of Midian. It's in Saudi Arabia. It's not in the Sinai Peninsula where the traditional Mount Sinai is.
Now Moses kept the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the backside of the desert, and came to the mountain of God, even to Horeb. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. I will send thee unto Pharaoh, that thou mayest bring forth my people the children of Israel out of Egypt. When thou hast brought forth the people out of Egypt, ye shall serve God upon this mountain.
So he was supposed to bring the people back to the mountain here in Saudi Arabia. That's what he was instructed to do. So we're going to go to the Arabian beach. We see a camel crossing sign. Hey, we must be in Saudi Arabia, and now we've got somebody racing us here. You see these camels out in the countryside quite often.
Just like deer in North America.
Yeah, but actually you can see these more. But yeah, so here's the Gulf of Aqaba. We're in Saudi Arabia. I'm driving the truck here. You can see Egypt on the other side. So this is the biblical Yam Suf, or Red Sea. It's mentioned in Exodus 13.
You know, it makes sense that Moses would come back to the mountain. That's just the Hebrew way of thinking, is cyclical. Things don't happen once, they happen in cycles, and you end up where you started off oftentimes.
That's right. God told him, bring the people back to this mountain, and he did just that. And so we're driving along the coastline here. Again, that's Egypt in the distance. Finally made it into Saudi Arabia. And so we're over on the opposite beach. Beautiful waters here.
Looking back now at Egypt.
Yeah, looking back over at Sinai Peninsula, Egypt, and the waters of the Red Sea crossing.
So this is where Pharaoh's army would have washed up, right here.
And they were able to collect their weapons. And
that was interesting, what the Wyatt boys had mentioned. I had not considered that before.
They were able to pick them clean of their weapons. They had to fight the Midianites, Amalekites, and termites. So here is Edward and Sam. In 2017, they saw the marker for the pillar that was cut down that matched the one on the Egyptian side. It's no longer there, sadly. It's been moved away. And so Viveka Ponton, she went diving here at this location. I got my picture taken with her. She's from, I believe, Sweden, there in Europe. But she got this great photograph of a chariot wheel there on the Saudi Arabian side. And look how round this looks. And again, it's got the raised center hub. Again, consistent every time we got the hub.
From both sides?
As a marker, yes. Parts on both sides. Now we're heading to a possible site for Mara.
So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea. Then they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness, and found no water. Now when they came to Mara, they could not drink the waters of Mara, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Mara. And the people complained against Moses, saying, What shall we drink?
Here on the map, we can see the site that we're headed to, the bottom left here. It's at Makna, an oasis near the Gulf of Aqaba or Red Sea. And so we're pulling into the parking area. You can see the beautiful palm trees here. It's a photogenic site.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, you see the Gulf of Aqaba, and here are the springs down here.
Now, is this a possible or a confirmed site for Mara?
It's not confirmed. This is just one of the contenders for Mara. We don't know which site is actually Mara exactly, but this is one of them we're taking a look at.
Now, Elim, which we're, I'm assuming you had some footage of that.
Yeah, we'll see Elim shortly here. It's the correct site. We know for sure that one is. But this is just a possibility here. A number of visitors came there when we were there.
Are the waters still bitter?
I didn't check them out there, Scott, but yeah, some beautiful palm trees here.
Looks like a fairly shallow area.
Yeah, it is shallow right there, and it becomes a little deeper and narrower on down.
So this is just a tourist area for now?
It is, yeah. A number of tourists came while we were there. But like we saw in the overhead view with Google Earth, this is the only place with greenery, in the area.
Well, it seems, yeah. And according to where Elim is, I mean, things don't change necessarily in the desert over 3,000 years.
That's right.
So
we'll see those wells there at Elim.
This could be it. This could be Mara.
Yeah. Here where it gets narrower, you see it, water a little deeper.
Yes, definitely an oasis. Everything green, everything else around it.
It is
not green.
It is beautiful over here near the coast, Gulf of Aqaba. So there's some visitors.
Then they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees. So they camped there by the waters.
So we're headed to Elim Oasis at the white dot there. This is the correct site. It matches a biblical account.
We actually have a palm seed pod here that someone gave us from going to that very site.
Wow, yeah, I didn't think about that. So we're going to enter at the left dot and walk 3 miles through the canyon here to the oasis. There we see the Gulf of Aqaba. It's a beautiful site here. The road stops here, actually. You can't go any further north. But we're looking over to the direction we'll be headed. We're going through this canyon here.
So this is only by foot?
By foot, yes.
And that would bring back memories for the being entangled in the wilderness.
Yeah, right. We got our own exodus going here. We're going to back and forth, wind our way through this for 3 miles.
What, is it a protected area? Is that why there's no road?
Well, there is no road going back in there. I guess they're trying to preserve it and so forth. Yeah, technically they could construct a road at some point.
So the Saudis even recognize that this is something special.
Apparently so, yes.
Boy, that does bring back memories of Egypt, doesn't it?
Yeah, winding back and forth. A lot of gravel and sand you're having to walk through. It's kind of a slow journey. And so we're getting to the edge of Elim here. Some of the water there. It's a beautiful sight.
And this would be, is it a spring just like Mara?
Some of it is spring and some of it's been developed into wells, such as this. It's had a casing put around it. But Scott Parvey went around and told me, and he was able to count 12 wells there at Elim, which confirms what the Bible says. There was 12 wells and 70 palm trees. And so the existence of the wells does prove it. Now, of course, it wasn't a well there probably in Moses' day. It was probably just a spring. And since then, they've been developed or encased into, a well-type situation. I think the original Hebrew is implying springs, 12 springs.
And 70 palm trees,
yes.
Both numbers of which in Hebrew represent perfection or completion. So this was definitely a welcome rest stop, obviously.
Yes. And it does continue on down. It's kind of stretched out, the palm trees. And some people have said, well, this is too narrow, for 3 million people, but it does open up here and it continues further east. And the canyon kind of fingers out with tributaries going out. So the people could have been spread out further away from this.
And all they really need to do is pass through and grab some water. They weren't staying here for a long period.
Right. And so here we are, going around to different areas.
That just does come up out of nowhere, doesn't it? There's nothing else around there.
It's an oasis, all right. I mean, that's what we're used to seeing for an oasis. And here's a well, another one that's been developed from a spring to a well situation.
And there's more around the Mount Sinai area that are very curious, that would support a large population around a place that you would not typically find a population.
That's right. God's, was providing for them. They were grumbling, but along the way, God provided the water for them.
It's a good object lesson, isn't it? When we think all is lost and we've reached the end of our rope, that God provides us an oasis.
Provides a way,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Amazing place.
So yeah, this is another area further to the east.
I'm curious, did you have any trouble getting a drone into where you are?
Yeah, well, I was preparing how to handle that as I was entering the country, and I've heard that they go through your bag, and so I had the drone in my pocket, and they ran my bag through the scanner, and no problem. But it's a very small drone, but it does excellent work, excellent video. So, yeah, it's a beautiful sight. It's a great walk to do. So, Elam.
Now, our next stop is going to be what along this route?
Okay, I think we're going to head over, I believe the next video is over where Jethro lived. It's coming up here shortly.
Jethro, now he is famed even in the Saudi Arabian society today.
He is recognized, yes, Jethro, and you can see his name on the maps, ancient maps.
And Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt.
So we're going to the town of Al-Bad. It's really not all that bad, but it is an interesting historical site. Caves of Jethro, Mugair Shuaib. That means Caves of Jethro right on the map here on the right, Mugair Shuaib. It says Jethro on the map. Here is a museum there. You can go inside. They got some nice professional displays of the area. In back of the caves, we're going to check out some nice displays that they have there. It's a historical town.
Look at that, a finished chiseling right in the side of the rock.
Right.
And they assume that this is from Jethro's time.
It is. It's from Jethro's time. And of course, I've read that Jethro may have lived in some of these caves. It could be, Moses did too during the 40 years of herding the sheep.
It looks to be, that looks to be a residence of someone who was prominent.
I have heard that the facades were developed later by the Nabateans. They carved them out at a later date. But they could have had a different facade, back in Jethro's time. But they are beautiful.
That's impressive.
Beautiful, yes.
Is anyone allowed to go into those caves? Did you manage to get inside?
Yeah, you can. This is recently created sidewalk for people to walk around and check them out. It's a great site to go. And I'm going to put on my website tips on traveling to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, excellent.
So if folks want to go there on their own, they can do that.
What to bring, what not to bring, where to put a drone.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Is there anything inside those caves at this?
We'll see a picture here. There are some tombs that have been cut out, and the particular one here we're going to look at.
Wow, look at that. A town built on the side of a hill.
But to think, this is Moses' father-in-law, and I'm sure, Moses was here too. Another biblical site. It's amazing, really, that you get to visit. Going to Saudi Arabia, to me, was as exciting and interesting as going to Israel, because of all these biblical things you can see. They're not just some Catholic church.
Yeah.
They are actual biblical sites.
So are these tombs?
These appear to be tombs, yes, cut out, out of the bedrock. Looks like limestone. Now, on the other side of town, we're going to take a look at Moses' well. Again, this is a fenced-in area with archaeological sign. The gate was open, thankfully. and another recently constructed sidewalk. And in the distance, we can see the well.
Moses Well. Why do they call this Moses Well?
Yeah, some people say, this is where, when he first went there, day one, and he came to a well, and the ladies were being intimidated by some of the men.
Yes.
And so this is a possible site for that, but that's tradition again. But it is a large well,
Well, in this part of the world, no pun intended, you wouldn't expect to find a lot of sources of water. Well, this might be that might be it. If there's one sitting in the middle of nowhere, you would come to that conclusion.
This appears to be, a prominent one. It wasn't just some small place. But we're up higher here. We're able to look out and see Jebel El Lawz in the distance in the center here. This is the tallest mountain in the northern 2/3 of Saudi Arabia.
Now Moses, when he had obtained the favor of Jethro, stayed there and fed his flock. But sometime afterward, taking his station at the mountain called Sinai, he drove his flocks thither to feed them. Now this is the highest of all the mountains thereabout.
And we can see here that Jebel El Lawz is the tallest mountain, and just to the right is the Mount Sinai we're going to go visit. It's part of the Jebel El Lawz chain, and we're told it's the highest of mountains in the region, and that's what it is. Here, Philo says the highest, most sacred mountain of that district.
All right, so we'll save the rest for next time. All right, great. So we'll go to Jebel El Lawz next round.
We'll be seeing that in the Split Rock.
In the Split Rock, okay.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, Kevin, thank you again. And
sure.
Yes, we have more episodes to come. Obviously, this story is not done. So thank you for watching today. Thank you for watching Shabbat Night Live. And remember, if you'd like to support Kevin's ministry, go to arkdiscovery.com and you can donate to his travel so we can see more of this. And thank you for supporting Shabbat Night Live. We will see you next time. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom, Torah fans. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Tap the subscription button and the bell icon. And I promise to update weekly with in-depth biblical research. Be sure to download the new michaelrood.tv app for both mobile and home devices for even more commercial-free content.